Well, hey, good morning, everybody. I've got a special treat. Lee Jennings is on vacation today, which is what you get to do when you're a productive realtor. And I've got Dave Dufort from San Diego. Good morning.
Good morning, Rick. It's great to be on your show today. Thank you.
Dave and I first met through the show, which is pretty fun. He was watching this show. He was watching kind of our past YouTube performance. And Dave recently joined EXP. How's it been going for you?
From the beginning, even before I joined EXP, watching your show, I was edified. It's scary out there when you're jumping into the industry and you're trying to find out what's the right pathway to go and what's the right type of chemistry with the company that you join. And I just want to thank you, and for that putting me in the right direction. And as I've joined EXP, I'm in my second or I think 17th day. And EXP has been, not to just promote EXP, but the reality of this company. They've helped me onboard, put me all through everything that I need, get all the tools ready to go, streamline the process for me. I got my dialing systems in place. I have all my media formats. Everything was all auto-populated in the KV Core. So I am in position to hit the ground running, and what I mean by hitting the ground running is really just doing the work.
Doing the work of real estate. So it was really fun to see you diving straight into Sean Kokoska's 16-week accelerated breakthrough program, where Sean, who is former president of Maps Coaching Globally and author of the Bold program, co-author of The One Thing with Gary Keller. Sean saw the EXP business model, left Keller Williams, came to us. He's in the Libertas group, and he's now coaching you into production. I mean, you're getting international coach, like one on 20, 1 on 30, whatever it was. And how was that class yesterday? Tell me a little bit about that.
Of all the classes I've ever taken, the class was just compiled into, for refreshing the key points that you need to do when you're building a business and being a successful person. It was amazing. He's an amazing leader.
He really is. I'm not big on accountability historically, but it really made sense to me the way he broke down the accountability, where if you take 66 days, you can make it a habit. And talking about, okay, here are the 10 phone calls you're going to make, and here's how that's going to plan out for you. And a lot of times people aren't going to do, Lee and I have been talking about the fastest way to 150K, and a lot of times people don't want to make the calls because they're afraid of the rejection. They're afraid of what someone's going to say, right? But Sean had a brilliant point. He's like, what if you had even just a 1 in 100 hit, right? You call for 10 days, 10 calls a day. You're talking to your sphere. And what if you only had one person say yes? Well, if that's a $300,000 sale, that's on average about a $9,000 commission. And that was about, you just made $90 a phone call. So every no, you should say, thanks for the $90. Did that make sense to you? I mean, you're a brand new real estate agent. Talk to me.
It makes absolute sense. We're not trying to mine the whole river. We're trying to just find nuggets, and it takes time. And that persistence. I mean, for example, even yesterday, after I've been in sales for a long, long time, and it rekindled a fire in me. And last night I went out on a walk, and I got a couple leads just because I said I was going to do it. And I reaffirmed that I was going to do it, and it's fun to be in a process of accountability where I know that if he called me today and asked me what I was doing, well, this is what I did, as opposed to this is what I didn't do, and it's fun. And really, the leadership is not there to attack us or make us feel bad about ourselves. And it's very, very professional. That's my experience so far.
That's awesome. I wanted to read a couple things from my notes yesterday. One of the from this accelerated breakthrough program, which people can still go and register for if they want to, and just reach out to me for how to do that. But he's talking about what are the current struggles of most realtors out there. I'm not sure where my next deal is going to come from. I don't have time to get everything done. And listening to Mick, my inner cynic, I love that one. And if we listen to Mick, we're likely to make errors in judgment every single day, and repeated errors in judgment leads to failure. So replace your limiting thoughts with empowering thoughts. Talk to me, because you have a sales background. How did that register with you?
We're constantly bombarded with negative information around the world. I mean, if you look at it, you can't escape it. And in order to be successful, when you're an independent salesperson, and you have to separate yourself, whether it be your friends or anything that were just diverting us from our focused attention. Sticking positive and staying positive is a real discipline. It's a self-discipline. And I love with that an acronym, it's my inner cynic, right? And you know, we all have those thoughts and those little on the shoulder, little talk to, and if that thing is coming out during the day where I'm thinking negative at the moment, I have to talk to myself and identify that on the moment, or it's going to impact the rest of my sales day. So that was a really good reminder and a good lesson.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what he was talking about with the be, do, have, the have to be, and the do, have, be. And for people who weren't there, and most of you weren't, let me break it down for you. People often think that if they do the right activity, they'll have the results, and then they'll be the person they want to be. That's wrong. And then they think, well, if I have more of this, more tools, more resources, more money, more business, then I'll do the work, and then I'll be the person that I want to be. But he said, no, you really have to start with the be, do, have. You have to really picture who you're wanting to be, right? You have to be that person and then do the work to have the results.
You know, Rick, it's brutal, but to be is to look myself in the mirror, look ourselves in the mirror and be honest with ourselves. We can only lie to ourselves, and as a result of it, our success is directly reflective of how we're being honest with ourselves, and it's just the truth.
Yeah. So part of getting to 150K, part of that race, past the six-figure barrier of 100, going to 150. We picked 150 because it's just the dance cartwheels down the street income for most agents that I talk to. But once you get there, you can just scale stuff up that you're doing. But we're talking about laying a solid foundation with good free training and coaching that we provide here, that we provide within Libertas. You provide that big foundation so that you can build a pipeline. When you have the pipeline, you can get some momentum going. And once you have momentum, then you can apply leverage. And I think people often, one of the things Lee and I have been talking about is people often try to go to the leverage stage first, thinking, well, if I leverage, then I can have a pipeline. That's backwards, right? If you have to have the pipeline to have the momentum, to have the leverage. And then at the top of that, it really comes mastery. And we're all, I think, still striving for that.
Yeah, we're building a house, we're creating a foundation, and from our foundation, putting everything in place and continuing to drive our business, it'll pay off. And for the 150K, it can be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, but it'll happen.
So we were talking about, you're definitely in the foundation phase, and I work on my foundation all the time. Lee's obviously working on his, he's working on his foundation. We're all working on our pipeline. What are you going to commit to doing this week to get one step closer to having a pipeline out of your foundation?
Now that I've gotten all the mechanics and everything in place, I'm going to hit the ground running by making phone calls. I got the dialing system in place. I've geotagged to different areas, and I'll circle prospect around and just literally make phone calls until I can set appointments.
Were you able to see the Icon Producers How to Get Listings Right Now webinar yesterday?
No, I wasn't able to get that. I was just too busy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna post a link to that here in the comments at some point. I'm kind of working on the recording right now to get it up and running. But David Torgerson in Helena, Montana is a fantastic realtor. his team closes over 80 deals a year. And he said when he's circle prospecting, he had the most simple script. It was beautiful. And it was something along the lines of, oh, hi, this is Rick Janson, local realtor in your area. And I know this conversation is going to be super awkward because you don't know me and I don't know you. But is there any chance that you might be thinking of selling your house? And you throwing it, I mean, it's a totally disarming script, right? Because people are like, that's not what most realtors say. And he said, when I introduced the word awkward, it allowed them to recognize that it is awkward, right? It's awkward for them. It's awkward for me. And he said, some people are like, whatever, pound sand. Those people need a hug, right? But the other people, they really are like, oh, he's kind of sweet because he said it's going to be awkward. And well, that's like, and they lean into it.
Yeah.
And when you're circle prospecting and you're just calling around, dialing for dollars, if you make enough phone calls, you will hit pay dirt.
The key is to do it. And
yeah,
I've always found that when I step into that conversation, I might just introduce myself real quick and let them know, hey, I appreciate your time. I'm sure you're inundated with calls all the time, that kind of thing. But once I say that first 10 seconds, I want to listen to where they're at, and I kind of get their personality, and I understand where they're coming from to a certain degree, and I want them to lead me to what their needs are. And then basically I kind of back off and just understand what they're doing, where they're at. If I'm listening to them, for instance, last night, well, she has properties and there's plumbing issues. And so, that takes me into a different pathway of conversation. So the more I can do that, the more I can listen to them and build a relationship. In all honesty, that's what it's all about. And from that, I'll gather the information that's what they would be looking for, not what I'm looking for. And it becomes a real valid, as far as a business standpoint, it becomes a real valid lead, a real valid contact. And then we're moving in the right direction. If people are upset or they cut you off, I can't blame them. I do not like people calling me. So that first moment is to just refresh them, maybe throw a little spark of positive energy. A sense of humor never hurts. It's one of the best senses we have. And to relax into it, but do it. That's the key. Just do it. You can never mess up too bad. The worst thing you can do is not make phone calls.
Man, it was so refreshing to hear a new agent who's obviously seasoned in the, in you're seasoned in your life and who you are. You have a sales background, but it's so refreshing to hear you talk about listening, because the 5 best words I've ever heard in a script are, tell me more about that. And when you're listening to somebody, they're like, oh, I'm not moving right now. Oh yeah, tell me more about that. Well, I'm just, I have no reason to move. I'm happy. My kids are in school, and well, tell me more about that. Mm-hmm. Right. And you just keep pulling on the thread, right? I've got a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old, and just watching them on a blanket, sometimes they'll just start pulling on a thread, right? Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. If you let them go long enough, they'll destroy the whole blanket, right?
I heard one of you
break down the barriers that are keeping them from what they want to do.
Sorry, I heard your son just had a birthday, right?
Yeah. The 9-year-old, the 8 just turned 9. I had to mentally quickly do the math and adjust the numbers. We're gonna have, and the other one's about to have a birthday, so it's kind of a crazy month at this time. But yeah, tell me more about that, right? And then you're trying to figure out, like, okay, so if you were to move, what would that look like for you? Where would you move to? And you help people paint the dream in their own head. You give people permission to dream. Well, I might get that little fishing cabin down by the river, or I might be able to work remotely in a suburb, or I might be closer to my granddaughter, something like that, right? Oh man, tell me more about that. And you let them dream. And so, what's keeping you from living your dream life? And it sounds awesome. And you repeat back to them, the fishing down by the river where you're closer to your granddaughter, and you're able to work remotely but have more time because you're no longer commuting. What's keeping you from that dream? Right? Can I be a part of making that possible for you? It'd be so much fun for me to help you achieve your dreams. Could we do that together?
And how would that affect you if you had that happen for you? How is that going to affect you? Love to be that. Yeah.
let people step into that. I mean, I was talking to a gentleman yesterday. He had to be 80 plus years old, living by himself, and he had his townhouse paid off, right? And I said, well, it's kind of going down that path with him, right? And trying to figure out, like, if he has no living expenses, he works 2 days a week, so he pays for his basic needs off of cash flow. He has absolutely no motivation to move his mind. He's comfortable, right? But when I told him, like, his house is worth double what he thought it was, then he kind of woke up. He's like, well, maybe I could do something with that cash. And so you start kind of painting a bigger picture, so that you're not, just sitting alone in your home with your two cats and all your windows drawn. Maybe you could get out there and golf. He's a big golfer, right? So maybe you could golf more. Maybe you could explore different courses. Maybe you could kind of go, have a bigger version of yourself. And he started kind of getting excited, but he's like, well, I don't know where I'd move to. Some sort of retirement home. I said, well, let me kind of do a little shopping for you, see what those prices are. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but I'd love to dream with you. And it's his dream. I'm not putting dreams in his head. I'm asking the questions that get him to go down a path that I'm giving him permission, right, to voice what's already in his mind, but he's been afraid to share with people because he didn't know how to make it possible.
Sometimes, people being in a comfort level, they're settled. It's literally settling, and they forget what they wanted to do in their life, and to bring that out and to actually have an option and a plan for them to be able to achieve that. That's just a wonderful position to be in, and you see the spark in their eye come out, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, you didn't even have any advance notice. I just know you watch the show every morning. So I'm like, hey, do you want to be on the show? If anybody else wants to be on the show, by the way, text me at 303-589-2320. Would love to have you on. We're going to make Dave the luxury expert of San Diego. We're going to have fun with that project. So more on that. Stay tuned. But Dave, have a great day. If you need me for anything today, text. I'll call you back and just reach out.
Oh, thank you so much, Rick. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Awesome. Hey, have a great day, brother.
Yeah, you as well.